your metabolism slowing down and you having a hard time burning fat means you're not healing either. If you can't burn fat, you can't heal very well. And you can't build muscle. You'll notice that they can't build muscle very well either, usually. Right. Usually. So you're stuck in a sugar burning state, just like a diabetic, just like an obese person, and disease starts to set in. Autoimmune disorders, digestive issues, hormonal imbalance. You're seeing it because it's a precursor condition. It should be looked at the same way. If you came into my clinic and I'm like, oh, you got high blood pressure, we should really take this seriously. If someone starts noticing their metabolism slowing down, they should take it seriously because it means in 3 to 5 years, you're going to have a problem.
Hi, I'm Kelley Namiro. Welcome to the Balancing Chaos podcast, a lifestyle podcast where we'll talk about wellness, motherhood, and some really exciting things in between. My goal is to help you develop a lifestyle that promotes health, wholeness, and success. Through my conversations with our experts and guests, I hope to inspire you to live a beautiful, full, and joyful life as you navigate balancing the chaos. Everybody, welcome back to the Balancing Chaos podcast. Today, we have Vince Pitstick on the show with 18 years of dedication to health and wellness. He stands as a testament to the power of evolution in the realm of holistic health. His journey originating from humble beginnings as a personal trainer and nutrition coach for both competition and lifestyle clients has blossomed into the role of a pioneer in functional and holistic nutrition coaching. In 2012, Vince channeled his passion and extensive knowledge into founding Vital Coaching, known at the time as Nutrition Dynamic. This venture was more than just a business. It was a mission to offer natural, client-focused care. From its inception, Vital Coaching was not just a company, but a beacon for those seeking a path to better health. Over the last decade, Vince has immersed himself in the intricacies of functional health. His relentless pursuit of knowledge and skill refinement led to the creation of transformative 4F process, a comprehensive care plan for health and wellness. Welcome to the show, Vince.
Well, thank you for that intro. That was great. I appreciate that. Yes. Long story short, a sick kid becomes a trainer. Then learns everything about the world, got whisked away to work for a global functional medicine organization, takes all of the best ideas he finds in the world, develops a method from it, then delivers it through coaching instead of through a doctor. And then it grew into the largest one-on-one functional health organization in the United States just for coaching. And that's how the whole thing in a very short, keep it simple kind of framework happened over the last, 15 years, 18 years.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that you're doing it from this place of I think that the best coaches, mentors, healers, they all come from a place of having gone through something on themselves and wanting to figure out solutions and find answers. So just before we dive into, we're going to talk a lot about metabolism and metabolic health today. But before we do that, talk to us a little bit about what you specifically went through and how that got you interested in nutrition and training.
Well, at 7 years old, I was diagnosed with a very rare medical health condition and also a psychiatric condition. And doctors couldn't figure it out. Many different doctors, they tried to throw many different drugs at me. I was unwilling to take the drugs. And then through this, huge kind of hero's journey as a young kid, sorting out what was what, particularly at that age with my mother and I, it was a mixture of, I grew up on a farm where we're using certain chemicals that I was reacting to, along with a lot of trauma in the home. My family was not doing well early on. They're both great today. They just didn't work together. Okay. You know what I mean? We can love them for being fallible adults, right? And today they're amazing, right? So it's all good. But when you add all that trauma in one time, which we call chemical and emotional, through the process of finding functional health, nutrition, working with holistic practitioners, actually getting into fitness, nutrition, getting in all that, a lot of the mental, emotional, and even the physical things just went away on their own. And so that's how I knew at the time that there was this whole other world. I didn't know that I would end up becoming an expert at it until I decided that I wanted to help people, but I didn't want to go to school to be a doctor. I didn't want to get traditionally indoctrinated. Not that that's not, hey, my doctors out there, shout out, love y'all. If you're listening, I hope you're expanding your horizons to more than just the allopathic Western medicine. But yeah, fantastic. But I did not want to go that route because it would stifle my ability to do all the things that I had learned about. And so interestingly enough, about 18 years ago, this whole new world. A lot of professionals are jumping into the coaching space in a lot of different industries. Okay. And the reason that they're doing that is because it allows them to expand their scope, get outside of maybe what the license confines them to be able to deliver services and processes and methods in a way that really get the, is the truth that the coach or the practitioner has discovered. Right. And you kind of find that in this. That's why we actually coined the term 18 years ago, functional health coach. It didn't exist. There was no word for it. Right. We literally at the time made it up, although there was this world of functional therapists. I worked for a few doctors for a while, worked in different clinics across the country. And before, that's where I got all the ideas, because I became what's called a functional consultant. So I worked for a global health organization called Metagenics. And Metagenics, you may be familiar with their supplementation. But what people don't understand what Metagenics is, it's a bit like green pharma. So the way it works is they have a research facility in Gig Harbor, Washington, some of the best researchers in the world that are studying a lot of the functional or natural protocols. Maybe they're doing herbs or they're doing programs, keto, paleo, different conditions, right? They're studying there. And then they're also hiring top doctors. And then what they do is they do seminars across the country to educate the doctors on the processes that they've discovered. And then they make their money through the supplements that are used for the protocols. Very similar to what a pharmaceutical company might do,
right?
But you're doing it in the natural world. And it just so happened, I developed a really big personal training. I was working with a lot of reality stars near Chicago. This is way back to when Rock of Love, if you can remember that, when things started to really pop off, and Chicago was a popular spot, and I was just out of there. And I got lucky. I was working with a lot of different people. And then I really started seeing a lot of Gen Pop too. And I started noticing that over time, the same programs I would use on women, every year as I kept going, they worked less. I saw more problems. People started coming to me for all kinds of things, not just because I want to lose weight, because I want to look good at the wedding, but I don't know, I'm depressed, I'm bloated, I'm this, I'm that, I can't lose weight, my metabolism's slowing down, and my same methods weren't working as well anymore. And I developed a pretty big program, and that's when Metagenics found me, and they're like, going the normal medical route isn't working. We need young, hungry fitness professionals to hire as reps to go train them, which is what I do now. I have a university where I convert people who are just passionate about functional nutrition or personal trainers into functional health coaches with our certifications and stuff. But I got to train under a doctor called Dr. Jeffrey Bland. He is considered the godfather of functional medicine and the founder of IFM, the Institute of Functional Medicine. I didn't know it at the time that I was training under literally Albert Einstein of this. And I was a wet behind the ears trainer, blonde tip hair. I was jacked. I was 230. You know what I mean? I was, I was definitely in my meathead phase still, Yeah. We go through phases, and I still love the bodybuilding side. Don't get me wrong, but you needed to blend the worlds together, where you take the strategies in bodybuilding that create massive metabolic outcomes and the structure of it. And then if you add functional medicine science to that same structure, you can create the most insane health outcomes in the world. And that's why when people look at my pages or any of our companies, they go, how the hell are you doing the things that you're doing? And it's because I was able to put all that together. So I was the guy behind all the doctors as a consultant.
Right.
So if you have an OBGYN that was in the central United States in the last, I don't know, let's say five years ago. So between 2010 to 2008 to 2015, there's a good chance if you were a problem client that I got a call from the doctor, what do I do in this case? And so I learned every method from every type of practitioner, NP, DO, DC, reflexologist, you name it. I worked with them and I learned how all their methods tried to come together to get the whole body to work together again, root cause medicine.
And that's the problem, right? With so many of these Western kind of allopathic doctors is, and not to again, hate on any of them, but it's oftentimes I think they're looking at the body in this one, you're a one organ system. Let's just take, metabolic health. And they're okay, we're looking only at that. And we're not looking at how that's affecting any of your other systems, or we're only looking at, your joints and like why we're not looking at maybe why inflammation or why your blood sugar or why any of these things are causing you to have joint pain. And I think that that's probably the biggest problem with conventional medicine, wouldn't you say?
Well, there you go, Kelley. So let me ask you a question. Like your thyroid or your gut, tell me, where is your metabolism? Where is it on your body? Could you point to it?
Right.
You can't. Because it's all over.
Right.
And it has to do with all 11 systems of your body that communicate with your cells. And if they're not in alignment, then you have a dysfunction, right? So you live in systems medicine. So let's say I have a weight issue, right? I can go to my general practitioner who kind of is a hodgepodge of everything and then tries to send you to specialists. I can go to an endocrinologist. I can go, then I'm going to look at the thyroid and the adrenals and some of my, some of my hormones, or I can go to my OB. Maybe my OB will do more sex hormones, right? Or maybe something's going on with my cardiovascular system. Maybe because I'm getting cardiovascular disease or I'm getting hyperinsulinemia. So then I can go to my cardiologist possibly, right? But all of a sudden, Kelley, you see the problem because my endocrinologist, my OB, and my cardiologist, guess what they're not doing? Talking.
Yeah.
Right. So the problem with systems medicine is it's really nice for the providers. So it's like, hey, Kelley, you be the endocrinologist. I'll send them to you for thyroid. But if they're a GI client, you send them to me and then we don't fight. So I'll have my area of specialty. Right. And so it chops the body up very, very nice logically, but it's not wise. Right.
Right.
Like, if you've ever heard, like, knowledge is that tomatoes are fruit, but wisdom is not to put it in a fruit salad. So like the idea is like the wisdom behind Western medicine isn't there. It's very logical and knowledgeable. But when you know that how to heal a complex system, like a problem that's lasted for more than 6 months, your metabolism has a lot to do with a lot of things. Your 12% of your basal metabolic rate is your liver. Then 5 to 7% your kidneys. Then another 12 to 20% your body composition, how much muscle that you have, right? And then your thyroid has a huge play on it. And then your other sex hormones, along with your insulin and ghrelin and leptin, they all play a part to how well your metabolism works.
And so that's why you're taking that like complex, like kind of hormonal panel, should we say, and then combining it with that old school methodology of, I don't want to say like bodybuilding, but like training and
yes, structure
around diet and all of that kind of stuff.
Structure. Yeah. We speak any diet language so that you can go any way with it, but it's the structure of how you actually solve problems.
Right.
So if you simplify it to like, if you wanted to build muscle, the best way would be the bodybuilding method. Would be very, stick to certain, athletic workouts, types of workouts, hypertrophy training. Get your protein up, work with a coach, track your biofeedback, watch your outcomes, and change little things as you go. That method is now starting to be adopted in the medical world through something called health coaching.
Right.
And you'll see eventually modern nursing is kind of on the decline, and it's going to be exchanged for all outbound health services will be delivered by a coach. That's why we created our university and we've done everything we have because we're investing in this new future. We call it coaching because it'll be the next big health boom that people just don't know is coming yet. But we see it in all the market research. It's coming.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's technically what I got certified in when I first started was to be a health coach. And I think that was like what I started to specialize in was women's hormones. And so what I'm curious with in talking to you, especially because so many of my clients and the women who listen to this show are truly interested in weight loss and how do I boost my metabolism? And is it even possible to boost my metabolism? Is there one side of the equation that's more important than the other? Is it more important for your hormones to be balanced and your blood sugar to be stable and your insulin levels to be, really sensitive? Or is it more important that you're eating the protein, doing the weightlifting and having that part of the equation?
This is such a great question because you kind of come to what's called CICO versus hormones. They like to say that there's a fight between calories in, calories out, which is the law of thermodynamics.
Yes.
Which has to be maintained, which is true.
I like that you're simplifying this. And I think that piece is important because I think that a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, like calories in, calories out doesn't matter. And to some degree it does. And
It absolutely. So here's where the worlds come together, Kelley. They're both true at the same time.
Okay.
So the people talking about it's all hormones, has nothing to do with calories, that they're just ignoring modern science and modern physics. You cannot deny the law of thermodynamics. Like energy balance must be maintained, just like the law of gravity. Okay. You're not going to drop a pen and in some world, it's not going to fall. Okay.
Right.
So if I eat a certain number of calories, they have to go somewhere. Okay. And it has to be balanced. That's all CICO means. Now, hormones can accelerate or extremely hinder how much your system actually burns in calories and how much you get rid of in heat. So if you ever look at the equation of the law of thermodynamics and the delta change of heat and energy, like work of the body, okay? So what we see happen, and this has been my argument, and I've been trying to tell the world for the last 18 years, we have a massive problem, not just, are we is there 60% of the population who is being researched that is over consuming calories and under stressed inactivity? Yes, there certainly is. Okay. Those are the people that are being studied in research, Kelley. Your clients, and I bet all of them will laugh because they'll know this is true. Any piece of research that they've ever read on metabolism or weight loss has never been on them because they're too busy to do research, just like you. They have a research participant problem that I've been talking about in science, and everyone that's the science warriors on social media never wants to discuss with me because you're always looking at people who are understressed and overfed, and that is not your clients.
Right, exactly. You're so dead on. Like these are not the people. They're very hyper focused on, okay, I'm eating, 1,500 or 1,200 calories a day and I'm still not losing the weight. Like what am I doing wrong?
So those are the people that I've been specifically studying, and we've seen over 55,000 people at my university and at my coaching centers and in my clinics, okay? I have the largest known sample size with these specific populations, and I can tell you that it's not just them, but in general, the average metabolic rate of the average woman who is calorie conscious and active is going down. And Kelley, I can guarantee you as a coach, you have watched it happen. You've been around enough, your wisdom, your eyes are not tricking you. Yeah. Okay. You see what's happening to the average woman in their metabolic rate. And the reason is as simple as this. It starts here. If you were to go to altitude, Kelley, if you were to go to, like, let's say Colorado, and you were going to train altitude, the oxygen level reduces. And so you're going to be very fatigued, but then what is your body going to do over time? It's going to adapt, and it's going to get more efficient with oxygen.
Yep.
Now you're better able to perform even in higher oxygen environments. But the metabolism's a little bit different. That when your metabolic rate adjusts and then it stays there for longer periods of time, it slows down this is going to be the light bulb, all metabolism. All your body is metabolism. Remember when I said point to a place where it's at? Yeah. It's in everything all the time. Your net metabolism is your net processing rate. Things are coming in, I'm processing them, converting them, using them, and then metabolizing them out of the system.
Right. So it's your energy, your hair growth, your weight loss, like how efficient your body is at doing all.
How well my liver clears, how well as quickly as I eat food, how do I digest it? And then the glucose not stay in my blood vessels and get into my cells. And then my cells use it in the mitochondria. The speed at which your body does that has everything to do with your cellular health.
Okay.
All diseases metabolic.
Like, our vanity symptoms and like weight loss, energy, things that we were just talking about. It's also a testament to, like you just said, like cellular health, like how fast we're aging and like the potential for chronic disease, et cetera, et cetera.
So here is a biomarker that we're not tracking. Is the deceleration of our metabolic rate. You can absolutely tie the deceleration of your metabolic rate to the growth of disease.
Mhm.
And the reason we know that is because of what's called AMP and mTOR and AMPK. You can only run on these two energy sources. mTOR is running on protein and carbs. That's sugar. Okay.
Okay.
AMPK is running on fats. What happens when we're younger, right? And the less inflammation that's in our body and the less stress on our body, the longer the time we spend burning biodiesel, AMPK. AMPK is where fat's burned, but also where you heal cells, you heal mitochondria, you get rid of oxidative stress. So you may have heard of like autophagy, or you may have heard of like, this is why they really try to push maybe keto or carnivore or whatever. And I'm not saying those diets aren't effective. What I'm saying though is left alone, if your body works correctly, it should be running in that state all the time. The thing, like, even when I'm eating, I should be going into AMPK and burning fat.
Okay.
So you switch back and forth all day long. But the more stress that you put on, the more hormonal dysregulation you get, the more it gets stuck in a sugar burning state. So it gets stuck in mTOR. And it's not just because of carbs. Carbs are not, people want to blame carbs. Carbs are the enemy. And the only reason that they're doing that is because in their minds, I have high sugars in my blood. That means I need to stop eating sugar. That's not how that works. Glucose in your blood is not the same thing as carbs that you're eating. They're all energy sources.
Right.
We see people all the time that are protein adapted. Their sugars are sky high and all they're doing is eating protein and a little bit of carb. And you see it too in your weight loss resistance. That's part of what weight loss resistance starts to happen. Your body just converts protein into sugar the same way, right?
So why is this happening? This consistent pattern that I'm seeing, that you're seeing, that all these holistic practitioners are seeing in their practice, where, you know, we are getting these people who are focused on fitness and they want to be healthy and they're walking, and maybe they're not perfect, but, you know, like you said, they're not just eating this like high carb diet. Is it stress? Is it they're eating too little? They're too restrictive? What's the cause of the slowed metabolic rate?
So as I was saying, when we're younger, as we start, so a woman, let's take a woman, the average woman by the age of 14 will start dieting twice a year, every year until she's about, the research shows about, now it's getting later, about 62, somewhere in there.
That is so sad.
Right? She won't do it with coaching or effectiveness though. She'll do it by almost under eating, high stress.
Right.
Okay. Right. And then whatever, you know, diet fads we come across, the phentermine, HCG, like whatever we came up with to try to help us lose the weight at the time. And when we do that though, we tell our body, we give it a really big shock. And then what happens is we don't come out very well. So then we overfeed ourselves way too quickly, and our body does not have time to adjust the hormones. So when I'm a big stressed out mess, also when I'm coming in contact with toxins or immunological stimulants, well, they all throw off your hormones. So I hate to say this, but we see it all the time, like antibiotics. And I'm going to use a word here because we see it. The more if you start doing histories, you're going to see the more that women take vaccines, the more the metabolism slow down. You're going to see it. Okay. We've been doing 55,000 histories. So when I talk about this, I'm talking from a place of heavy case study, right?
Right.
I'm not just saying this out of like, I don't know, I've got a vendetta against it. I was looking for the truth. And now today, just so everybody knows, we can guarantee with the reversal of weight loss resistance in 12 weeks. In fact, we guarantee it, or we work with people for free. That's where we're at. That's how far we've got. So our methods, I can guarantee the reversal. We figured out what the problem is. And that's why we're doing all we're doing now and going on the offense. Because if women let their metabolisms be slow, and Kelley, you're going to see this. This is the part that everyone needs to understand. Your metabolism slowing down and you having a hard time burning fat means you're not healing either. If you can't burn fat, you can't heal very well. And you can't build muscle. You'll notice that they can't build muscle very well either, usually. So you're stuck in a sugar burning state, just like a diabetic, just like an obese person, and disease starts to set in. Autoimmune disorders, digestive issues, hormonal imbalance. You're seeing it because it's a precursor condition. It should be looked at the same way. If you came into my clinic and I'm like, oh, you got high blood pressure, we should really take this seriously. If someone starts noticing their metabolism slowing down, they should take it seriously because it means in 3 to 5 years, you're going to have a problem, right? And that's when I know, Kelley, you're thinking about now you're putting the math together and you're, wait a minute, that's right. We always see all these like problems, stress, depression, mood disorder, digestive issues, thyroid slowing down. They blame it on the thyroid, but then it doesn't really matter because more problems come up anyways. And it all started with, at some point earlier on, their metabolism started to slow down and they weren't tracking their 2-hour postprandial. I don't care about your fasting glucose. It's when you're eating food, what does your sugars do? Because there starts being blocks in your body's ability to digest, absorb, and quickly shuttle it into your cells, into the mitochondria, and convert it into ATP. The speed at which that happens will dictate your metabolic rate. And the thing that affects that most is not calories, it's hormone levels.
Yeah.
So there you go. Calories matter, equally hormones matter. And Kelley, the biggest example, if anyone ever gives you flack about this. So I worked in clinics across the country. So I've always got the knockdown argument that if anybody goes, oh, it's just calories, it doesn't matter. Type 1 diabetics, if you've ever worked with them, you'll know this to be very true. A type 1 male or female, especially early on, okay, what starts to happen? They can eat food, but then they'll rapidly start losing weight. And they could be eating a lot of food. What any type 1 diabetic will tell you right now, that if they skip their insulin once, they can drop 5 pounds.
Wow.
Right? Because when they don't have the insulin to shuttle the nutrients into their muscles and into their cells, the body ejects some of the calories. It's not the best process for the body, but insulin dictates whether they're gaining weight or not.
Right.
I can have a type 1 diabetic eat 3,000 calories, skip some insulin, and start dropping 3 pounds a week.
Yeah.
Right? Not healthy either. They might flake some muscle too. It's not a great thing.
No, but it shows you
what I'm saying. Right. So no one can ever tell you again, Kelley, that hormones don't dictate part of how your metabolism works, because it dictates how much it burns and what it burns. Am I burning fat or I'm burning muscle? Right. And so coming back to it, it starts with diet adaptation, because we're dieting too much. And then a lot of the things that you do to it over and over and over, we're going to stop working. Right. Like if you take a fat burner, okay? If you start a fat burner, it'll burn fat. But at some point, your body will adapt, switch it up, and it'll start gaining fat. Caffeine. Caffeine's a perfect example. Caffeine's a stimulant. If you take too much of it, though, it depresses you. You ever taken too much caffeine? You're sitting there wide-eyed, but you're tired as hell? Yes. Anything that stimulates depresses.
Right.
It's the same thing with fat burners, accelerants, thyroid medicine. They will start you and then nothing. And then they actually start being a hindrance.
I really hope that you are enjoying this episode. I want to take a quick pause and invite you to come deeper with us if you're ready to explore the root cause connection to the symptoms that you're feeling. Whether you're bloated, exhausted, maybe you have brain fog, you can't lose weight. The WBK Health and Hormones course and our WBK membership and app are here to help you feel like you are empowered to take charge of your health and understand the real why behind you feeling how you do. And we give you the methods and protocols to heal with sustainable solutions. Right now, through Labor Day, get 10% off our annual membership on the WBK app with the code Balancing Chaos, all one word, BALANCINGCHAOS, and 20% off the Wellness by Kelley Health and Hormones course, and an emailed lab review with the code Balancing Chaos 20. That's BALANCINGCHAOS 20. These protocols in the course have meal suggestions, journal prompts, and supplement guides to help you heal whatever area of hormonal balance you're struggling with. With our membership, you'll receive a library of content and new workouts, recipes, and meditations every single week to keep you consistent and to allow your body to come back to its most vital state of being. Okay, now back to the episode.
This is a very controversial topic, but what about like the people, is that the same thing? Because, you say like stimulants and I know that the way that like semaglutide or Ozempic works is different than that. It's not a stimulant, it's an appetite suppressant to some degree with the GLP-1 agonist.
Well,
but
we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah.
Is that one of those things too, where it works and then it doesn't?
So interestingly enough, semaglutide is one of the breakthrough. It's not just semaglutide. So like it's GLP and GIP science, right? Yep. It's an incretin. It's secreted by. It's a hormone replacement, by the way.
Yeah.
We make it already. So
right.
let's call it that, because when people think drug, they start associating it with phentermine.
Right. Like the ones that raise your heart rate. And I feel like there's been so much progression on this topic, Vince. I'm so happy that to hear you. I want to talk about the other things, like what's more important, diet or exercise? How do we get out of the weight loss resistance? But I think that this topic is so important because the evolution just in the last year on this conversation is really powerful, because I think that you heard so many people at the very beginning being like, this is horrible. It's so bad. It's going to give you medullary thyroid cancer.
It's a lie. All of it's been disproven. All of it's scare tactics. And the reason that the fitness and the health community are scared they're going to lose their jobs and their positions of authority, because now it makes the race even for all demographics and levels of health. Now, does that mean everyone should use it? No. Okay. It becomes addictive. It's something that it needs to be used under the guise of a professional. Sure. Right. So our clinics get it for our clients when we need it. We have a process to figure out whether you need it or not. Right. If it's a matter of just you needing to get more structure in your life, we're not going to circumvent that. That would be like taking a drug for depression and never getting therapy.
Agreed.
So that's where it's harmful. Right. But we have semaglutide and we get it for the best prices in the country, but you can't get it from us unless you do it with a professional who's coaching you through it. Because
I think that I've listened to so many podcasts and I even did a training on this. I think that that's the most important part, is that you are building the habits in to make this a sustainable approach in the long run.
So semaglutide though, what does it do, Kelley? Coming back to the type 1 diabetic.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm going to tell you. So remember when I was talking about, and this comes to the GLPs.
Yeah.
Remember when I told you about diet adaptation? So the body, when you aggressively try to diet, you eat too much muscle, then you quickly gain fat. When you quickly gain fat after a diet, every time that you do that, you make yourself less sensitive to ghrelin and leptin. So now you're more hungry and it doesn't shut off as quickly with the leptin.
Right.
Okay. You also mess with your insulin signaling. Chronic stress and not as much cortisol. Everyone wants to blame cortisol. It's more catecholamines like adrenaline. So, when you wake up in the morning, your body releases cortisol. It's called the dawn effect.
Yep.
And then in response to the cortisol, your adrenals must also release something called catecholamines.
Okay.
What that's also known in the body is adrenaline. Your body has to give you adrenaline to get your body ready to move in the morning. Well, what else does it have to give you if it releases adrenaline? It has to release sugar from the liver. That's why you don't eat food and your sugars go up and your fasted glucose.
Yeah.
So people want to blame cortisol. It's adrenaline. Okay. Adrenaline induces the release of sugar. And this is scientifically, this is me. I'm not making this up. You can look up the physiology and the science and the research. It all exists. But guess what pumps out a lot of adrenaline? If your cortisol gets too high, or if it gets too low, then you don't secrete enough. More people gain weight from blowing out their cortisol than getting low. And now they're not releasing enough adrenaline and energy and releasing enough sugar and insulin from the process. So what happens though is women start eating their muscle, gaining too much fat, throwing off their hormones. So now the diets aren't working anymore as well. And then they have to get more aggressive and more aggressive and more aggressive. And so their body composition, even if they're losing weight and then gaining some muscle, they're actually still losing that battle. They're losing too much muscle, gaining too much fat. So their body composition's hollowing out. And then what happens is it's the insulin. So now when they eat food, Kelley, this is what's happening. When they eat food, they're not releasing enough insulin to pull all the sugar in. That's why a 2-hour postprandial is so important, not a fasting glucose. Well, my fasting glucose was 88.
CGM, or how are we tracking?
I don't so I give CGMs if they need them. Okay. But the inaccuracy of these things, and then there's no research to compare it to with normal individuals. This is the issue with these. Yeah, diabetics, there's good data. Okay. But that fluid that they're measuring is different in all human beings. Like, for example, if you're a very muscular female, your fluid level of sugar is going to be higher because you're feeding your muscles with sugar more often. But that doesn't mean you're having higher levels or that it's a problem for you.
Right.
So this gets challenging you can use CGMs to watch general trends. It would be the same thing as if I did a handheld body fat reader in a personal training gym. It's not going to be very accurate, but it'll let me know if I'm going up or down over time.
Sure. Okay.
The best way to really look is to prick your finger 2 hours after you eat a couple times for meals, a couple times a week.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to see, you're going to notice your numbers are going. All of your women, I'm telling you right now, that are slowing down metabolism, their sugars are going to look like a pre-diabetic. They're 2 hours after they eat. It's called the 2 hour postprandial. They're going to see they're at 101 or they're at 76. They should be in the 80s and smooth.
2 hours after a meal.
Yeah, because listen, this is the number that matters. When I eat food, remember I told you speed upon which I eat it, digest it, goes into my cells as glucose or my blood vessels. Okay. Then it trucks through the veins like the highway, and then it quickly disperses itself in the liver, your fat, and your muscle. Okay. Right. If there are any restrictions, if there's any blocks or friction, which you can call inflammation or hormone imbalance, it will slow up and create traffic in your bloodstream in between meals. Now your sugars are staying too high, leaving you in a sugar burning state, even in a caloric deficit. This is why you can keep lowering calories and they don't lose weight. Or if they do, it's not great body composition weight that you would want. It's not fat.
But
okay.
Yeah, right.
You're seeing them strip themselves of their muscle, right? That has everything to do with insulin.
Okay. What
does a GLP do? It secretes GLPs to induce the beta cells in your pancreas to release insulin. So the same problem, Kelley, that an obese person is having from having too high a sugar levels for too long, and now insulin isn't responding correctly, they need a GLP. So does sometimes your clients with weight loss resistance who also have high sugars from under eating too long in a 2 hour postprandial that now also need insulin stimulation. That's the truth. That's why we have all the books coming out. We're trying to tell the world this, because if they don't do it, and they don't need to do semaglutide, if they don't fix it, they're going to stay in a sugar burning state, just like that diabetic. And then you're going to wonder why all of these health issues keep coming on. You can't get rid of them.
Right.
All disease is metabolic. Improve your metabolism and prevent disease for life. Period. End dot. So look great. And guess what? Not get disease. Win-win.
Love this hot take, Vince. I think that not only do I love it because I feel like it's, different than everything else you hear out there, but I love it because it's backed by science and you've got all the research to support everything you're talking about.
And we teach doctors, trainers at my university, these tools every day. And it's reproducible in thousands of people. That's why it's so reproducible. We guarantee the result. We don't sell programs. We sell outcomes, right?
I think that for anyone who has worked with diet after diet after diet and has not seen results, or tried all the supplements and has not seen results, I think going and getting involved in your program because of how you do things is really a powerful thing to do.
Just have them, if they can just message me, Vince_Pitstick. We guarantee in 12 weeks results, or we work with you for free till you do, because we know we're going to get it. No longer do they have to worry about if it's going to happen. That's on us. If you can show up and follow a little bit of a process and fill in a tracker, so we've got the data that we need.
Yeah.
If you commit to us, we commit to you. It's on us. And to date, that's thousands of people. And to date, I've never had to do it once.
Wow.
It'll probably come up with the law of, you can't win every time. You know this, right? A good coach is probably successful 80%. A really good one, maybe 85, And so that's how we know we've got it. And that's why I love coming on with practitioners and podcasters and people like you who are trying to get the truth out to great people, because we know the truth now, and we want to give you the tools, at least in your vocabulary or in the language, or even for yourself to use, because you're hearing a whole world confuse you with too much information.
100%.
That isn't wise. It might be logical. It may be some type of knowledge, but knowledge without context and a process
Right.
is actually almost lying or misleading. Right?
100%.
Right.
So let me ask you this. When you think about two things, one is, I think that a lot of the people that are listening we've talked about hormones, but like a lot of the people who are listening are like, well, I've heard about my age being a factor. And that like, even as I, enter into my 40s, because that's where a lot of my clients are, that like my metabolism is just going to slow down. Can we kind of subvert that if we are doing everything else in our power to be more insulin sensitive, or not really?
So my first book will be coming out in about, I think everything's going to get released here in about 12 weeks.
Congrats.
And it's called the Flush Method. Thank you. It's called the Flush Method. And I can prove to anybody that's listening right now that I could feed you a certain way, stimulate your thyroid and your adrenals and your digestion in 12 days. I could increase your caloric rate by 300 to 500 calories and you'll lose weight within 12 days. Okay. So that's the proof. I can raise someone's metabolism wherever they're at
in 12 days.
In 12 days. Yeah. It's called the Flush Method. It was the first thing that I designed. So let's leave out, for example, don't talk about semaglutide or any of that. Like all of that's fine. But there is something called metabolic actual. So like, what is my BMR actual, right? Mm-hmm. Right now, if I've been dieting and people go, well, what's my basal metabolic rate? I use a calculator. It says it's this. And it's like, well, you want to know what your basal metabolic rate is? Tell me how many calories you've been eating on average for the last 3 months. And I'll be able to tell you what your basal metabolic rate is.
Right.
Your metabolism is what you feed it unless it gets hormonally imbalanced and too diet adapted. Then you try to raise your calories and you can't. So as a means of survival, you keep lowering it.
Right.
Right. And so then it keeps getting more and more adapted, but you're closing yourself into a corner. It's gonna get
fear of all of the women listening. This is the horrible cycle that they're living in.
Yeah. And so what happens is they don't know it. At first, it's like, oh, I'll just stop eating this and I'll stop eating dairy and I'll stop doing this and I'll stop doing that. And this is all going to work. That's great for a year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year. Now I'm getting back further and further. And then I'm getting more swollen, which women confuse for fat. Right. You cannot diet away inflammation and you cannot train away swelling. So then what women do is they'll overtrain and over diet to get rid of something that they can't get rid of with that. Yeah. Swelling's a functional issue. And as you become more weight loss resistant, the more swollen and hormonally imbalanced and inflamed you're getting. Mm-hmm. And then what you're trying to do is use more calorie restriction and working out to solve it. And that's when you hear it out loud, you go, that's insane. You can't solve swelling that way because you can't. Right? So this is what happens to women. And then they'll find themselves. And if any of you listening have found yourself in the place where you can't go lower on calories because you're already malnourished, your hair is starting to shed out a little bit. This is the problem, Kelley, with all the calories in, calories out people. All you got to do is eat less, move more. Yeah, okay, a-hole. What about the person that's already, and lots of women are there at 1,000 calories? Are you going to tell them?
Yes, exactly.
Right. What are you going to tell them? Oh, just keep eating less? Okay, until all their hair falls out and they have no sex drive and their estrogen's gone and they're dry as as all get out, right? Yeah. Down south and trying to be intimate with their partner. Tell that woman to go ahead and eat less, jerk face. Yeah. Good. Real smart, genius. Real smart. Right. And those people, though, understand the population that they're talking to is 19 to 28-year-old males and females that don't have these issues yet.
Right.
So they don't know that this exists. They think it's Bigfoot because they're selling to 19-year-olds or 20 or 25-year-olds.
That's how
all it is like
into this cycle.
Right. When all it is like, hey, stop eating French fries. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay, cool. For now. Right.
So for those women out there who are like, okay, I want to try a few things. Like what like they're not ready for semaglutide. They're not ready, but they have been dieting for a while and the diets don't work because the weight always comes back. Yeah. Give me 3 of your best tips for what this woman does.
So turning your metabolism back on. Remember when I told you, and everyone loves simple tips and I can give some, but the truth is when you go to like a symphony.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason the music sounds good is because every instrument is in tune. Okay. So the metabolism works and I can increase it by 10 or 15%, somewhere in there. You don't need much. You'd be surprised. Just 5 or 3 or 8% more metabolic rate. All of a sudden, you're no longer gaining weight all the time. You're losing a little bit over time. You'd be surprised how small changes in BMR change everything because it's every day. Right. It's every day that I'm either gaining a pound or I'm losing a pound or whatever. And so because your body has different systems that all have a few percent of your metabolic rate, the best thing to do is get them all in alignment really quick. And then all of a sudden you see a big jump in your metabolism. So if I optimize the liver, if I optimize digestion, if I fire up the thyroid, and there are certain diets that do that, we're going to talk about that. So ironically, we found the answer in, and no one shudder before they hear the word because it's not really about this, but you may have heard of detox diets, elimination diets. Yeah. Now, I don't want to get into the science of toxicity, although it does exist. I want to talk about what happened. Remember I talked to you about metabolism, right? Your ability to metabolize toxins, your ability to metabolize estrogen, right? Your ability to metabolize calories. When the power to the house turns down, all the lights dim. This is why it seems like everyone who has slower metabolism also detox their estrogen slow. They're either estrogen dominant or don't have any progesterone. Their thyroid's a little low. Their cortisol is either a little high or a little low. And then if they actually do detoxes, they'll notice they feel much better.
Right.
Because their liver's slowed down, right? It's not metabolizing as quickly, right? So I don't want to get into it like major holistic. I just want people to understand that you can actually boost your metabolic rate if you upregulate your liver, your thyroid, and your digestion all at once. You can get a few percent. Okay. And that's all you need is a few percent, right? So, and remember what I told you. Here's the trick. Everybody thinks that the way they're going to lose weight. Remember I told you, what's the key hormone to weight loss? We just talked about with semaglutide. What's the key hormone?
Insulin, right?
Okay. Everybody thinks that insulin's the bad guy. That's what they're going to tell you, right? And yes, if you have really high insulin because you're obese, once again, not our people, okay? This is why if you listen to the wrong people who are reading research on people that are not you, you're going to be misled, okay? Right? So these people that are like, insulin's the bad guy. No, insulin is what triggers leptin. So what you'll notice, Kelley, do you look at blood work?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Riddle me this. If insulin is the problem, then why are all of your clients insulin at 1, 2, or 3, and then they can't lose weight?
Absolutely.
How did I know that, Kelley? We just
very rare to see a client above 10.
Yes, right. And if you're at 10, you want to get that down. Sure, that's fine. But there's still chronic dieting. How does their insulin get to 10, right? So how can your insulin being too low is like a form of type 1. They call it 1.5 diabetes. You've been dieting so long, you actually don't have enough insulin. Because insulin does insulin pull sugar into your fat cells? Yes, also your liver and your muscles. And as soon as it does that, Kelley, this is the part that everyone leaves out. As soon as you draw calories or sugar into the fat cell, the next thing that your fat cell does in the symphony, remember the symphony, it's got to be in harmony. The trumpet trumps, now the violin's going to go. The fat cell releases something called leptin. And if you don't have enough leptin or you don't release it on time, then you don't start burning fat. It doesn't matter. Remember when I told you about the type 1 diabetic, that if I don't give them insulin, they can lose all kinds of weight? But in someone who's not type 1 diabetic, if they don't have enough leptin, it doesn't matter how low their calories get, they can't get into fat metabolism.
Right. That makes total sense.
So without insulin, you can't burn fat, silly. So the whole time we've been demonizing the one thing that we actually need. What food group, what macro is going to get your body to respond to insulin the fastest? It's simple carbs, fruit, simple, low glycemic, because carbs are not the enemy.
Right.
Remember, Kelley, your clients have already come in for years doing this high protein shit. It ain't working.
Not working.
You have to reverse it on them. So you go low protein for a little bit. We're not in muscle burning right now. See, or muscle building. So, when you hear the people talk about protein synthesis is the most important thing, and you got to get to 0.7 pound, 1 gram per point, 0.75 grams per pound of body weight or whatever, because protein's the most important thing. Yeah, that is true if you're focused on muscle development, hypertrophy training. But guess what? Right now, we're not worried about that. Right now, we'll maintain the muscle we got, and let's get our hormones and our inflammation down. And the way to do that is to get insulin up. So
we're giving them more carbs to start with.
Yes, but simple carbs so that your pancreas will respond quickly with insulin. To get insulin to respond, you need sugar.
So fascinating.
Right?
It's the opposite of what everyone else would think.
Yes. So in my method, in 12 days, anyone listening to this right now, I could give you 200 carbs, primarily juice. I'm going to give you 300 to 500 calories more than you've had. And as long as you take the other supplements that stimulate it's a symphony, you're going to lose 3 to 7 pounds on average. We did 7,000 people weight loss resistant, 7,000 people. We did a case study. 88% of those people lost weight in 12 days when they did the flush method. So I actually have that available. If they go to vitalcoaching.com, they can buy the flush with a coaching session for like $190. It gives them a diet for them. It'll give them the protocols. They'll get a coaching session with it so they know how to apply it, and they just can buy it simple right on the website. Okay. It's not much. Hey, what do they got to lose? Nothing.
Yeah.
And if they're extra worried about it, they can start at lower calories. But typically, if I stimulate the thyroid with one of our products and I give you a bunch of juice or carbs, it instantly turns your metabolism on. Mm-hmm. So the more food that you eat, the faster you'll turn your metabolism on and the faster you'll start losing weight.
So fascinating. I feel like that is like literally an approach that you would never hear, but I love it so much because it's like you're telling people, you're like, I'm going to allow you to eat more, like something you haven't allowed yourself to do for probably years. And I'm going to give you the permission to do that and give you the results at the same time.
And no one ever believes me until everybody, coaches and everybody, they're at my university and they go, the flush changed my life. It changed my business. It changed my career. Because as a coach, what am I supposed to do with you? You're at 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories, 1,400 calories for 3 years, and you want me to do something about it, but I've got nothing to work with. Right. You have no metabolism left to work with. Right. So then what do I have to do typically? Feed you up slowly, and then you get pissed because you're gaining a little bit of weight. You don't want to see, you need a quick win psychologically. I can't give it to you because I've got to do the right thing. Well, what if the right thing also got the weight loss at the same time? That's what I solved 12 years ago because I had to figure out people were coming to me all underfed, overstressed. They needed a quick win to stay with me in the long term.
Right.
But I needed them to start at a higher metabolic rate so I had something to work with when I go to cut them down.
Right.
Otherwise, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? That's amazing though that it works and that like you don't have to slowly go up over time with your weight in order to reset your metabolism. Like you can do this and it'll be a win for you. I think that's incredible.
And again, people are going to think that what I'm saying, because I hear people, everyone says they got the thing, Kelley, I look like one of those guys that would be like the guy that says, I got the thing. And it's like a sales pitch.
You have so much data behind it. It's not just like this quick fix. I'm going to put you on a juice cleanse thing.
Yes. Yeah. So, and that's why we have over 400 students at our university that are doctors and coaches, learning these methods. And they use them, we're using it on thousands and thousands of people, so like the idea that it isn't real, that should help people, Yeah,
I think that people should definitely feel comfortable. It's like, you've explained all the science behind it. It's not just like, oh, we're going to give you this cleanse. And this is
try my colon cleanse with my like diuretic. You're going to drop all your water out of your body and, and clean your colon out and drop 5 pounds and be like, oh my God, this was amazing. Yeah.
I was going to say, you also like, it's not just like we focused and honed in on metabolism today, just because that's what my listeners are probably most interested in. Not probably, they are, just knowing from their questions. Yeah. But you also focus on other chronic conditions and different things like that. So can you give the listeners a rundown of some of that stuff?
So the interesting thing was when I started solving the metabolism problem,
Right. It all goes together.
all the diseases started to go away. And that's how I discovered that all disease was metabolic. So that's where I trademarked my 4F method that we trained practitioners across the country, that where we stimulate and turn the metabolism back on with the flush. Then you have to go into the gut, because the next part that people don't realize is if you look at all the studies coming out on microbiome diversity and its effect on metabolism, it's very real. I'm working with some clinics right now that do stool treatments where they're doing fecal transplants, right? Where you're eating capsules of other people's stool slowly over time to change your microbiome, and then it affects your metabolic health. I'm seeing people lose weight. There's studies showing it with type 1 diabetics, type 2 diabetics, and they're doing it in Gen Pop now. I can show people how when you work the gut, your metabolism gets better and your waist gets slimmer. I mean, we've seen it, right? And so when you work in the gut and then we focus heavily, the third part of that is called the fast phase, where we have to use some autophagy and we work hormones. So that's where I developed Vital Med, which is a whole female-oriented, although it works with males too, endocrinology clinic that does hormones, peptides, everything, does them the right way, functional, and their prices are incredible because we're not trying to just gouge people for thousands and thousands of dollars and not know if they're going to get help. That's just not on brand. And my team at Vital Med, Megan and them, are the best in the country. I've hand trained them. They're incredible. And we do, we're big fans of Dutch tests, so we can look at your hormonal layout, figure out what's imbalanced, get everything structured and balanced for you. And that will also help extenuate your look, right? It's going to help your metabolic rate over time. And most importantly too, just the way you look and feel, right?
I love it. I think that the fact that you're doing the testing along with it versus just being like, yeah, we'll sell you. Like, there's so many clinics out there that are like, I'll just give you this peptide. And it's like, you don't even know what my baseline is. Like, that's kind of scary. Like, I think that piece is so important. And I just love that you're doing all of these things the right way with metabolic health in mind, with prevention of chronic disease in mind, and all of that. I think that it's
Semaglutide is great, but until you make sure that you've done the right things to turn your metabolism on, to make sure that you also mentally are in a good headspace. If you don't have some of those things in place, semaglutide is going to become your problem, not a curse and not a gift. Okay. And that's why, we have just at Nutrition or Vital Coaching, we have about 800 to 1,000 people at any one time. Maybe 10% of people that we've seen their metabolisms are altered enough that they need to come back by using some of it to fix the body by using it, which we do. Then we'll go that route. Right. Not everyone needs that. And that's why we're not just dishing it out. And especially, we would never give it to anybody unless they're working with a practitioner who's checking on the way they're dieting, the way that they're living, all of those factors that now make it an incredible tool. So all the rest of the haters can kind of sit down, because semaglutide's here to stay. You're not stopping it. Yeah.
I feel like I could literally talk to you about so many more things, whether it's exercise.
Well, have me back. I'm always willing to do that.
I would love that.
I hope your listeners, I know I'm like they're going to go, this guy, he said so much. I probably forgot 80% of it. It's because this is the stuff that everybody seems to be lost on and they want answers on. And I get so jazzed up because we have the truth. Right. And so that's why, but I'm happy to always come back and talk on something very specific so people can be like, hey, slow down. Can we just talk about what the hell is insulin and why should I care about it? Can we do that just for an hour?
Right. I feel like we've got some really hormonally in tune women who are going to definitely know everything you're saying about insulin and metabolic health. Yeah. But you're just so knowledgeable. And so I'm so appreciative of your time. And for anyone who wants to learn more about Vital or your coaching or supplements or whatever it is, where can they find you?
The best thing to do is we have really great assessments that we do that people can go right on and they can learn about what systems of the body are off for them and what might be impacting their metabolism at vitalcoaching.com. Right. if they're more interested in like, hey, I just want to maybe get like a Dutch test and want to talk to a professional that's really good at hormones. Maybe I'm not interested in some of the other stuff. I want to trust somebody I can trust instead of most of these clinics out there that are just shoving pellets in people, or they're over prescribing progesterone, or they're giving too much testosterone and telling them they're going to lose weight, which isn't true. And just all the kind of stuff that's going on out there, all that BS needs to be left to the side with people who really know and aren't going to oversell you. And that's Vital Med. So it's the same Vital ecosystem. It's called vitalmed.com, or they can check me out at Vince_Pitstick, like an Australian deodorant, pit and stick. You can't mess that up. And that was a growth opportunity as a child, Kelley. You know what I mean? That's what we call that when you got a last name like that. Yeah. But that's what they can check us out. And they're going to find out that if anybody was listening to this and it felt like I was reading your diary, it's because we can help. We really can. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, Vince.
Thank you for having me.
Link all your information in the show notes, and you guys can find Vince and everything that he offers, because he's incredibly knowledgeable on what he's doing out there. Thank you.
I really hope that you enjoyed that episode. You can follow me on Instagram at Wellness by Kelley, or head over to our website, wellnessbykelly.com. Sign up now for the Wellness by Kelley 7-day free trial on our app, or head over to our course. And now get 20% off the course or 10% off of the membership with the code Balancing Chaos, all one word, BALANCINGCHAOS. In our course, you'll get access to an emailed lab review plus protocols built out to help you heal with whatever hormonal imbalance you're struggling with. With our membership, you'll receive a library of content with our app with low impact workouts, blood sugar balancing recipes, and mindfulness meditations, all designed to help you balance your hormones and help you feel like you are living your most beautiful, joyful, and vital life. If you like the show, please leave a rating and review. That is the best way to help the show grow and get to more listeners. We hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week.